Hello there, happy Money Monday, and welcome back to another episode of the Empowered and Abundant podcast. This week, I am super excited to talk about what happens when I don't manage my money as a money and abundance coach, and what does money management actually look like? Why is it important? What's the impact that it has on your life and your business when you know how to manage your money? And this topic is really important because in my work in the Empowered Abundance program, what I help my clients do, and also what we talk about on this podcast, includes both the intangible internal side of money. So that is your money mindset, your thoughts, your beliefs around not only money, but also self-worth, your beliefs about the world, scarcity, not enoughness, all of that plays a role and has a huge impact on your relationship with money, your ability to live your abundant life, your ability to be very successful in your business and make money. But on the flip side of that, I also help my clients on the tangible side of money. This is actually knowing what's happening with your money, managing it, tracking it, being in control of your finances, being strategic, conscious, and intentional with how you use and spend your money. And this is equally as important as the internal work. In fact, both of these really do go hand in hand. I'm a yogi, I'm a yoga instructor, and I love the saying, as within, so without. Whatever your internal world is, your mindset is, that's going to be reflected in the world around you. Your thoughts create your feelings create your actions, and your actions create your result. We're always manifesting results all of the time based on our internal belief systems, our stories, our narratives, and this is true for everything. But the tangible side of your money is a reflection of your internal side of money. But we can manipulate both these factors. We can change the internal relationship with money so that you can step into more abundance, but we can also change the tangible side of money. And that will also affect the mindset and vice versa. And I think the problem that I see most people facing when it comes to harnessing the power of their money and attempting to create their most abundant lives and grow successful businesses is that they often focus on one of these things, either or. Either you're all in the tangible, you're all in the business strategy, you're all in the effort, you're all in that like masculine doing energy, and you're not paying attention to the mindset, the belief systems around your money. Or it's the opposite. You're all in the mindset work, you're all in the personal growth, you're all in the healing, and you actually avoid or ignore strategy or structure or tangibility or actually tracking and managing your money. Both of these are less effective because you're leaving 50% of the equation on the table. Because again, these two things work hand in hand. They go together. And on this podcast, I love to talk about the internal work, the mindset work. It's my favorite, but the tangible work is just as important. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Now, before we really dive into this, I just want to give you an update that enrollment for the Empowered Abundance program just closed on January 23rd. But just for you, because you are a podcast listener, I'm going to leave enrollment open today for one day only. This episode is coming out on January 26th, which means today you have the chance to book a free consultation with me. If you schedule it today and get it on my calendar for the next week or so, then you have the chance to explore if this next round of Empowered Abundance is the right program for you. We're beginning on February 3rd. We're starting very soon, so this is really your last chance to get in before doors officially close, and then enrollment will not open again for a couple of months. Our next round's going to begin in May. So this is really your last chance to start transforming your relationship with money now, at the beginning of this year, at the beginning of 2026. That way you can really make 2026 your most abundant year yet. So if you haven't booked a consultation with me yet, today is your last chance to get that on the calendar with me so that you can join us in February. Okay. Without further ado, let's dive into today's topic. And In all honesty, I was not planning on recording this specific episode today, but today is Money Monday, and I personally was doing my money management routine. And I had my own little shocking realization. It was so funny that I was like, you know what? I really do need to record this episode today. I've been sitting on this one for a while, waiting for the right time, or I've just had other episodes that seemed more important. And then today I was like, yep, this is the one. Because here's what happened was I am someone where I have a pretty solid routine with my money. So I actually manage my money bi-weekly, every 2 weeks, and every once in a while I do stretch it to a month. So it's a monthly routine. And I'm comfortable and solid enough with my money where it's very easy for me to go in and check it bi-weekly or monthly and update it and just set everything up. And I don't feel overwhelmed by the tech or confused or overwhelmed by transactions because I've been doing this for so many years, right? I am a practice of what I preach. Everything that I teach my clients how to do in Empowered Abundance when it comes to managing your money and being in control of your finances, I use the same exact tools, I use the same methods, I use the same routines and practices. So I've been doing this for over 5 years now, managing and tracking my money in this way. In Empowered Abundance, I recommend for my clients to do this weekly because if you're just building the routine and the habit, it can feel really overwhelming when you let too much time go by and then you go in to manage your money and you're like, what is happening? There's so many transactions. I don't know where to begin. And especially if you're someone who's new to managing and tracking your money, you're in the learning curve of actually learning how to use the tool, getting comfortable with it, getting used to it, having the routine in your calendar and schedule. So because you're in the learning curve, that already takes so much effort, and the longer you have in between your sessions of managing your money, you're making it harder on yourself. And so I recommend to my clients that this is a practice that they adopt weekly. I find that it's a really good amount of time for not being overwhelming, but also it's not like something you need to do every day and it takes up tons of time. That hour is really the sweet spot. So for me, it has been a little while since I managed my money. I would say about 2 weeks. I noticed that in the back of my mind, I was starting to feel kind of funky around my money. It wasn't really obvious. It wasn't like this big noticeable thing, but I noticed that deep down under the surface, there was this low-grade sense of anxiety or stress or a little bit of worry where I wasn't really sure how much money I had or what was going on with my money. So under the surface, I'm thinking like, oh, something's wrong, maybe I don't have that much. And I just noticed this sense of uncertainty, this sense of discomfort start to creep up. Now, because I am hyper aware of my relationship with money and I have a very solid relationship with money, I can notice this feeling very early on. And when this feeling comes up, what it tells me is that it is time to manage my money. That is actually the clear indicator that money management is what I need to be doing. Now, what I find for my clients who are just beginning a routine with managing their money is, or for people that I talk to that are attempting to manage their money regularly, is that this uncomfortable feeling starts to come up where you haven't looked at your money in a while, you're starting to feel a little stressed, money's feeling uncertain. It's not like a huge panic, but it starts off slow, and then maybe it escalates over time, it gets worse and worse. And what typically happens is you then start to avoid your money even more. You don't look at it, you pretend like it even exists. The idea of managing it becomes even more stressful and fearful. And so you put it off. You put off managing it more and more. And you let this discomfort, this stress mean that money management is bad and wrong, when really it's exactly the opposite. You think your brain's trying to tell you that because you're already feeling some anxiety and some stress around money, that when you look at it and manage it, it's going to make it worse because you're just going to see how bad things actually are. You're going to have to face the music. It's going to be really intimidating and scary. You're going to have to really figure it out. And if you could just stay in this ignorance is bliss, it's going to be better and it's going to be easier. But this is so completely inaccurate and so not true. That money stress, that anxiety, that discomfort, that uncertainty, that comes specifically from not actually knowing what's happening with your money, not having a clear picture of what's happening with your money, not having an accurate picture of what is really going on with your money. And that creates a sense of unknown and uncertainty. And what happens is when we don't have this awareness and when we don't have this clarity and this certainty, our brain starts to make up a story about what is going on with our money. We start to develop an emotional relationship with our money instead of a logical relationship based on reality. So we can actually feel really stressed about money and really worried about money, even though it has nothing to do with our money at all. So for example, I have experienced this personally many times, and I have talked about it with my clients and coach my clients on this all the time as well too. But for example, we can be feeling good. We can be feeling really solid, like life is okay. Things are bopping around or whatever. And then something happens. Now it could be money related, like say for example, a slightly higher than normal bill comes out of the blue. Maybe your car breaks down and you have a slightly higher expense than you were expecting. So it could be something financially unexpected happens, or it could be not financial. It could be that someone said something to you and you took it personally and now you feel off and now you feel weird, right? It could be that something happened or you made a mistake, and it could have been something so small, like you dropped your coffee and spilled it on something important, Something happens. And then the money stress starts to expand and grow. And suddenly you feel nervous and you feel worried and you're like, should I buy this thing? Should I not? You start nitpicking over little things like all the grocery expenses that normally you don't really care about, but right now it just feels extra important. You don't buy that thing. Or maybe you do, but you just feel extra guilty and ashamed about it. But the problem with this is if you're not actively managing your money, then this money stress is not inherently accurate or based on your real financial situation. So going back to my story of why I just had to share this podcast interview today, this podcast episode today, is because I felt this slight sense of uncertainty around my money. I didn't make it a problem. I just knew, okay, this means it's time to look at my finances. And then I did. And when I opened my bank account, it's been about 2 weeks since I looked at it at all. Haven't checked it, haven't thought about checking it, checked my bank account, and honestly was shocked by the amount of money in my business checking account. I was like, what? This is how much money I have in here? And I was pleasantly surprised. This was a higher amount of money than I was expecting. I honestly didn't know what I was expecting. I hadn't been thinking about a certain amount of money, but it was surprising and honestly really funny because I had noticed I was feeling a little stressed about money, a little worried, especially as an entrepreneur. If you're an entrepreneur, you know that the income can be inconsistent. It can be unpredictable. So going into this new year, in the back of my mind, I was a little like, okay, last year was great, but 2026 is not guaranteed and the money's going to run out, etc., etc. And so I was in that energy. Then I hadn't looked at my money for a while. And so all of this created a story that I actually don't have that much money in my account and that I should be worried about it and that I should be stressed out about it. But then when I actually looked, I realized that this was totally inaccurate. I was like, oh, I actually have a normal amount of money, if anything, a little on the high side. And I have more money coming in and I know what's happening and actually I'm good. And it's such an accurate example of how inaccurate our stories, our narratives, our perspective around money can be. It's really not based on how much money we actually have available to us. And this is what causes a majority of the money stress and also causes us to make scarce-based, fear-based decisions in our lives and in our business. And all of this can actually block the flow of more money coming in and also hold us back from making the most of the money that we already have as well. So this is one of the reasons why actually learning to manage and track your money is so important and so vital. That way you don't only have an emotional relationship with money, but you can start to develop a logical relationship with your money based on reality. And time again, I see this with my clients, that once you learn to see your money clearly, around 70% of your money stress goes away. Even if your financial situation doesn't change, even if you are in a challenging, uncomfortable financial situation, once you can see it clearly, then you can do something about it. You can't solve a problem that you actually don't know what's going on or what the problem is. But once you see clearly exactly what the situation is, then you can make peace with the situation and go to work solving it, which is a very different energy to be in than be worrying about how much you have or when it's going to run out, but to have that be based on nothing you can actually put your hands on or do anything about. And that's what's so empowering about learning to manage your money. Now, some of the clients that I work with actually do manage their money. They do track their finances. They are spreadsheet people. They're into it. Not most of my clients, but I would say like 30% of my clients already track their money. But when they start working with me, they start to see their money in an even clearer picture. Most ways and most techniques that you're managing your money is only giving you a small view of what is really going on with your finances. In Empowered Abundance, I teach you how to zoom out and see the big picture, not just like how much is in your bank account right now in this moment, but what's going to happen with your bank account over the next 3 months. What's happening today, what's happening this month, next month, and then for the rest of the year, not just for your personal account, but also for your business account. And that's something that brings me so much joy in my work, is when I'm working with a client who actually already does manage their money, and then we start working together and they're like, oh my gosh, the stress went away because I am in control and I can actually see what's happening, not just now, but also in the future. And being able to future cast and zoom out and see this big picture creates a sense of safety, stability, and control, especially when you're an entrepreneur and you have inconsistent, flexible income. Being able to see what's actually going on is so comforting and so stabilizing. And that's also the energy that you need to be in order to grow a successful business and in order to sell yourself to your clients. So this is the biggest thing that happens when you learn to manage your money specifically in this way that I teach in Empowered Abundance. But that's not the only thing. The other thing that happens is you get to make your money go so much further and move your money confidently. This is something that I talk about with my clients all the time, is when you use the financial blueprinting tools properly, it solves all of the problems that come from not having a clear picture with your money. Like, when's it going to run out? I know that I'm good now, but what's going to happen in the future? Or I have some money now, but what happens if I make this big payment to my credit cards or I move this amount of money to my savings? When you're trying to achieve different financial goals and actually use your money very strategically to move forward, to create your vision, achieve different goals, it can be really scary and intimidating. You're like, I think I can pull this off, but I don't really know, and what's going to happen in the future, and what if something goes wrong or bad, and then how do I actually deal with it? How do I handle it? And this is what can cause us to sit on money, hoard money, keep money stagnant, stagnant and prevent us from actually crushing the credit card debt, actually saving, and really making progress towards these goals. Versus my relationship with money and the way that I teach my clients to develop their relationship with money is to confidently wield your money, to move it around powerfully without fear or stress or worry. So, for example, today I felt that inkling of, whoa, I feel uncertain around my money. I'm not going to use that against money. I'm going to use that as a measure that it's time to manage it. And then over the course of 1 hour, I looked at all my money, felt solid, felt confident, and moved over $11,000 around. I literally transferred and moved and adjusted over $11,000 in a 60-minute chunk of time. And it all went to different locations. Some of it went to pay off credit cards. Some of it went from my business account to my personal account. Some of it went from my personal account to my savings account. Some of it went from my business account to my savings account. So there was a lot of moving around, and it totaled over $11,000. And this is the most important part, was I did it confidently. I did it with zero stress or zero worry at all, because it was just looking at the numbers in front of me and saying, yeah, of course I'm going to move this money around today. Like, I have no stress about it. I have no fear about it. I know what's going to happen, not just now, but also after I make these transfers. And then like 3 months from now, I still know how this is going to play out, right? Versus seeing the money you have in your account, thinking, okay, I'm going to make a big credit card payment, but I'm a little nervous about it. What's going to happen? And then you don't know how much to put. So either you put too much and then 2 weeks later you start having to charge on that credit card again because your checking account can't handle expenses, or you're not maximizing your money and you're not putting enough towards that credit card. And really, you actually could be crushing that credit card faster because you have more money available, but you feel uncertain or worried about putting a higher amount of money towards that credit card. So when it comes to using your money strategically and achieving financial goals, having an accurate, clear picture of your money is so vital. It's how you make a lot of progress and really make the most of your money from a place of grounded confidence and certainty. It's easy for me to move around thousands of dollars in 60 minutes because I can just see what's happening. And I know how much I need in every area. I know how much is available, and I know where my priorities are and where to put it. So it doesn't stress me out. It doesn't worry me. And in fact, this is how I always work with my money. It is incredibly, incredibly rare that I'll just be going about my life and like open my bank account and think, oh, I need to pay this something and make a payment to a credit card or transfer from one account to another. In fact, that really stresses me out because it feels like I'm just shooting in the dark. My money is a cloud that I can't see, and I'm just hoping that I'm going to move this money around and that it's going to work out. Anytime I'm moving around money, I'm consulting with my spreadsheet. I'm consulting with my financial blueprint, because that is the tool that gives me a clear picture of what is actually happening with my money. And I can feel really solid and grounded and confident, which is why I have a routine where I manage my money for 1 hour every other week or weekly, and then boom, everything's done. And then I don't need to think about it. I don't need to look at it. I don't need to stress about it for all that time in between. I don't check my bank account in between when I'm managing my money. It actually takes a lot of time and stress off the table because it all happens at once and it happens confidently. And then the third thing that happens when you manage your money in this way is that money becomes really tangible and real. The intangibility of money, that's what creates a lot of uncertainty and stress. That's what causes us to not know how much we have available and to not make as much progress as we could towards our different financial goals. Because money just feels like something that's happening, it's floating around, we don't really know how much we have or when it's going to run out or where it's coming from or where it's going. It doesn't feel real. And some clients I work with, they tell me it just feels like a game. It feels like it has nothing to do with real life. But when you can see your money clearly in this specific way, where you're getting the big, full, accurate picture, money becomes a real tool that you are the one that who is in control of it. Instead of your money feeling in control of you and therefore dictating your life, you become the one in control of your money. You become the one in control of your life. You get to make powerful decisions about what is most important to you. Whether that's financial goals like saving or crushing credit card debt, or maybe you want to buy a house, maybe you want to save for retirement, maybe you want to transition from your full-time job into your business full-time. In Empowered Abundance, I have tools to show you exactly how you can make that leap financially and confidently. That way you're not just trying to do it forever, but feeling like you're never going to have enough to actually do it, or you do it too soon and then you have to go back to that job because you couldn't actually make it work. When you can see your money clearly, money becomes tangible and real, and it becomes part of your strategy for creating your most abundant life. It becomes the tool to create that abundant life. So you can make decisions with confidence without money holding you back, but instead money being the thing to help you actually get there and create it. And yes, in order to do this, we need to shift our mindset around our money, but we also have to learn how to manage, track, and be in control of our finances. Now, the method that I teach around money management is different than budgeting. Budgeting tells you what you can't do with your money. It feels limiting. It feels restricting. It feels like dieting for your wallet. That's why a lot of people have resistance to the idea of managing their money. But instead, I teach you a technique called blueprinting. Blueprinting is telling you what you can do with the money that you have. It feels empowering. And you get to decide what is most in alignment for you and what is right for you with your money. My clients tell me all the time that learning to see their money in this way changes everything. And they start to feel more abundant starting right now, no matter how much money they have or where they are starting from. One of the other reasons why people tell me they're afraid or nervous to manage or track their money is because they don't want to face the situation. They don't want to see what's actually going on, and they feel like ignorance is bliss. And if I just keep my head in the sand, then I don't need to worry about it, and it's all going to work out. It always does end up working out. And I get that. And also, like we talked about in the first example, is not seeing clearly what's happening with your money actually creates more stress, more worry, more anxiety, and a lot more energy is being leaked towards your finances than is required. And that same amount of energy can go towards creating the life you want to live. It could go towards building your business, growing your avenues of money coming in, instead of this under the surface, paycheck to paycheck cycle stress of money flowing out of you. So even if it feels intimidating, even if it feels overwhelming, even if it feels scary, I promise it's simple and it's worth it. And I know this to be true because I've worked with tons of people on learning to manage and track their money using this specific method that I teach in Empowered Abundance. Yes, I've worked with clients who have managed their money before and they feel very confident with technology and spreadsheets. I also have worked with many clients who are terrified of technology, who are afraid to track their money, who feel overwhelmed with technology and numbers, and they're not good at math. And all of them have learned how to do it. And all of them have discovered that it can be very simple, and that over time, with practice, it becomes easier and easier. That's why my money management method takes me an hour to do like a whole month of tracking and move around $11,000 worth of money and then just be fine. You know, it's because it's a skill set that you build up over time. And yes, the truth is it can be a little intimidating at first because it's something you haven't done before. It's something that you've been avoiding, and your brain is doing that for a reason. It's trying to protect you. But I promise once you get over the initial hurdle of it, that's where the feelings of empowerment, confidence, control, and abundance live, right on the other side. I released a podcast episode recently of my former client, Ashley, who is now actually making progress towards crushing her credit card debt after going through Empowered Abundance. And she tried for years and years to try and pay off her credit cards. In fact, she would put down large payments and still never made any progress. But then when she joined Empowered Abundance and learned how to actually see her money clearly, manage her money, be in control of her money, and wield that money towards her financial goals, now she's crushed over $4,000 worth of credit card debt just by seeing her money clearly and using these simple techniques and tools that I teach in the Empowered Abundance program. Learning to manage and track your money is the difference between just thinking about creating your vision and actually bringing it to life with the power of your money. Okay, that is what happens when you learn to manage your money. And when you don't, that is when you stay in the uncertainty, the discomfort, and the stress that bleeds scarcity into your life and into your business. So I hope that this episode inspired you to learn to track your money. Now, this is something you can do on your own, and I highly recommend learning the Empowered Abundance method because, like I already mentioned earlier, when you learn to track and manage your money in a specific way that I teach it, you'll get a very clear, accurate picture that removes a lot of the stickiness, a lot of the fear, a lot of the gunk, a lot of the uncertainty that comes from managing your money, but in an inaccurate way. So, like I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, right now, today is your last chance, podcast listener, to get a consultation with me on the calendar so that you can join us for the February round of Empowered Abundance. Our first call is February 3rd. So you have to book your consult before then if you want to join us. And trust me, when you start this practice sooner of managing your money, of being in control of your finances, that is how you can achieve goals faster. So the sooner you start, the better. The sooner you take the stress and pressure off your shoulders, the better. That's what's going to give you the momentum to create your abundant life. And the truth is that you can start this today. So if you're ready to harness the power of your money to create your abundant life, then use the link in the show notes below to schedule a consult with me or go to thebizhippie.com/abundance. And that is what I have for you today. Have a great rest of your Money Monday, and I will see you next week.